Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to start with this. With all the doom and gloom out there coming from Gary Gensler, don't be fooled by his scare tactics. Gary's just setting the table for his masters. I want to draw your attention to this article. This is from January 30th, just a few days ago. All right. Bank of New York, Wall Street giants spy opportunities rising from FTX ashes. And by the way, Gary was having planning sessions with FTX. That's not a coincidence. Folks, I believe that FTX literally was a government operation, or at least a co-opted operation for the government to help destroy some of these projects and then hold their hands up and talk about how we need regulations. That's what I believe. This takes you company by company for these traditional Wall Street firms. BNY Mellon has a history back to 1784, and it's basically telling you company by company that they're all jumping into all of this. Here's BlackRock. It says last year, BlackRock teams continue to explore using digital assets in capital markets offerings. Then you got Goldman Sachs unveiled digital asset platform. And going through all that. Then you got JP Morgan. It says Jamie Dimon's lambasting cryptocurrencies. But then it says, but the bank has been active, spending several years developing blockchain-based systems to run traditional financial transactions. It's running a number of projects in its blockchain division, Onyx. And then you go to Fidelity. Fidelity plans to expand the types of assets. CBOE is adding participants to its new digital asset spot and futures market. Folks, this isn't like some long time ago. You think these guys don't have the ear of the Gary Genslers of the world? In fact, they've probably got more than his ear. They probably say, hey, Gary, you're going to be at my office at such and such time. And then you got the CME Group, Societe Generale, Standard Chartered, Nomura, all these massive State Street. Look at State Street, one of the biggest custodians in the world. State Street is continuing initiatives to offer custody of cryptocurrencies. CEO drew distinction between cryptocurrencies and other digital assets, such as CBDCs. During an interview, there is still a bright future for tokenization. He said there's a lot of central banks thinking about central bank digital currencies. I think that is proceeding forward at pace. So you get the point, folks. And here's the other point. While Gary's over here screwing around all of the crypto industry. And look, by the way, I am not, nor have I ever said that part of the crypto industry is not the SEC's jurisdiction. Maybe the staking thing that happened yesterday with Kraken, maybe that is the SEC's jurisdiction. Nobody has a problem with the SEC regulating, never have. What we've had a problem with is the way that it's being gone about. They're intentionally trying to freak out the crypto markets, first of all. Then you got Gary Gensler overreaching and telling you to come in and see him, but he doesn't give you a way for anybody to register. He says, come in and see us, come in and register. You've got to do disclosure, but he doesn't tell you how. Okay? Even Hester Pierce, which I'll show you in a minute, she says he doesn't show you how. But I want to show you what meanwhile is going on over in Europe and other parts of the country. This is just what we know with Uphold. This is from a Link2 interview, Joe Endoso, the COO of Link2, with the CEO of Uphold. Listen to listen to the bright future Uphold's got over there.
Let's do a little bit of a mind experiment and imagine that we're in a market where the IPO window has reopened. You as the CEO now have the opportunity to take Uphold public. And you're sitting in front of me. I'm the portfolio manager at Fidelity, and you're pitching your IPO. Tell me the top 3 reasons why I ought to invest in Uphold.
Oh, that's putting me on the spot. Well, I think I would say we are a Web3 bank built on blockchain rails. We have a very fast growing enterprise business that's infinitely scalable virtually at very low cost, because our enterprise clients bring us literally millions of customers free of charge. And I would say that our architecture is completely unique. So we don't just have one order book, we have access to 26 order books because we're plugged into all of the major crypto exchanges. And that means that we have a very material advantage in the sense that, first of all, we can smart route orders and get better price discovery for our retail clients. Secondly, we've got superior liquidity because we have access to 26 different order books where we can sell assets. We were one of the few trading venues where you could continue trading Luna, for example, during the recent crisis, pretty much uninterrupted. And thirdly, that architecture allows us to cover more assets more quickly, so we can be much more agile in the market. But the final point I would make is the real reason you should invest in Uphold is that we are going to become the center of people's financial lives. We believe that people won't want one app for crypto, another app for equity, another app for commodities. Uphold brings all of the asset classes together in one environment. It allows you to trade from any asset into any other asset, even across asset classes, in one single move. And what's coming in the new year is the ability to use any asset, any balance you hold, from physical gold to Bitcoin to US dollars, to do things in your everyday financial life, such as pay bills. In the new year, you'll soon be able to get your salary paid into Uphold, and you'll be able to say, okay, I'd like 5% in Bitcoin, 70% in USD, 15% in equities.
How awesome is that? There's more of it, but you can go watch it. This is why I'm an investor through Link2 into Uphold. I backed the truck up on Uphold a while back, so I'm very bullish on that. I did check; they've got some Uphold on the platform. Link2 is one of my sponsors. Links in the top of the description. Now, moving along. So Brad Garlinghouse was reacting, and for those of you that don't know, we'll get to it. But Gary Gensler had a settlement with Kraken yesterday on their staking, and they can no longer have staking. So Brad Garlinghouse is pointing out what I just pointed out, which is stepping back for a moment from what's happening in the U.S. Just the last few weeks, number of positive, or at least headed in the direction of clarity, global regulatory developments is energizing, continuing its history of being tech forward. Dubai has just published an extensive new set of tech agnostic rule books for crypto market participants, covering compliance standards, advertising, issuance, and much more. Australia's Treasury is looking to reform license. I'm just going to hit the high points. The UK HMT's new consultation reflects the government's intent to establish a proportionate, clear framework. South Korea's Financial Services Commission publishes guidelines that delineate what would be considered a security token. The list goes on. Brazil's new legislative framework. So he's making the point that just because Gary is misguided and the U.S. seems to want to fall behind, everybody else is doing what the United States used to do, which is, and this is my beef with Gary Gensler. If I'm Gary Gensler, the first thing I do as chairman is walk to the microphone and say, listen, crypto is a major innovation that's going to change the world. And I say, listen, make no mistake, my job at the SEC, I'm going to do everything I can do to bring all the money that we can to the United States of America. I'm going to work with the CFTC, the White House, the Congress, to make sure that we create a framework that will bring as much money and jobs and everything else that is good and innovation to the United States of America. That's not what this piece of you-know-what has done. He's done the exact opposite, and he ought to be ashamed of himself, and Congress ought to be ashamed of itself for talking about new days and doing nothing but tweeting and talking. He should have been the first person they got up there. Stuart Alderati, today's U.S. crypto-related doom scrolling aside, here are some positive updates elsewhere in the world. And then I can't even play this because he's so nauseating, but that's Gary Gensler's little video he put out yesterday. Library if Gary Gensler was drowning, would you save him? 83.8% of the people would not save. I haven't done a refresh on that. I bet it's worse than that. Let's do a refresh on that. 83.8%. Now think about it. Think about Gary Gensler literally went after this company, who had not committed any fraud. They've taken pictures of their families with their children and all on the front steps. So this guy who's already rich has basically bankrupted this venture that these families, they could have employed people, they could have, and they offered to work. You tell us what we have to do. We'll do anything we have to do. Just don't call this a security. He couldn't do that. He put them out of business so that their families are in a situation. Good guy, really good guy. So while Gary was bragging about having gone after the staking of Kraken, I wanted to remind Gary that FTX was staking their FTT token while you were having planning sessions with them. And I said, hey, Congress, when are you going to do something about this walking contradiction and give us a new day? Here's the FTX FTT staking program that was in process while Gary was meeting with them and having planning sessions before it was, quote, known that they were a fraud, right? Then Hester Pierce comes out and gives her thoughts on the Kraken settlement. Library says it's year 2028. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have been jailed for using illegal cryptocurrencies instead of CBDCs, and Hester Pierce is still just writing dissenting memos. And then from her dissenting memo, Cowboy Crypto, who is the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, that's important. The commission, this is part of what she said, the commission argues that this staking program should have been registered with the SEC as a securities offering. Whether one agrees with that analysis or not, a more fundamental question is whether SEC registration would have been possible. See, this is the problem. I'm not even saying that staking is not a security. Maybe it is, okay? But he's not giving you a way that you can register it as a security to be able to do it. This is the problem, or one of several problems going on with this guy. Jesse Powell, who is the CEO of Kraken, says Congress must act to protect the domestic crypto industry and U.S. consumers who will now be going offshore to obtain services no longer available in the U.S. And Tom Emmer right here, instead of giving us a new day, is tweeting, to be clear, staking enables more people to participate in building next generation of internet. Gary Gensler, regulatory purgatory strategy hurts everyday Americans the most, leaving them in the dust while these opportunities are accessible offshore. Well, thanks, Tom. Words don't mean much at this point. Then we've got this. This is Gary Gensler on CNBC this morning. A minute 12 is about as much as I can stomach.
Pretty much all the cryptocurrencies are down on the back of this news. Chair Gensler, it's great to see you this morning. There's a phrase online where they say, tell it to me like I'm 5. So for those who are uninitiated into what happened here, tell it to me like I'm 5. What was Kraken doing, and what was the problem that you were trying to solve?
Andrew, what Kraken was doing was asking the American public for their coins, crypto tokens, and saying, I'll give you a return, 4% to 21% returns. And the problem was they were not disclosing to the investing public the risk that the investing public was entering into. And we have a basic bargain in the United States since the 1930s. You can take whatever risks you want. Companies like Kraken can offer investment contracts and investment schemes, but they have to have full, fair, and truthful disclosure. And this puts the investors who watch your program in a better position. That's our basic bargain. They were not complying with that basic law.
See, the crypto law points it out here. Comply how? This is not regulation. This is extortion. See, the problem is nobody's saying that the SEC should not have some jurisdiction over crypto. That's not the issue. The issue is he's saying you've got to come in and comply, but he's not giving anybody any way to comply. That's how they're trying to run off crypto, or they're trying to completely control it. And that's one of the problems with this guy. There's more on Squawk Box, but I can't listen to him anymore. Then we've got all our politicians coming out and tweeting instead of doing anything. So I'm not pleased at all with Tom Emmer or Warren Davidson or any of these guys. These guys have been talk. I'll believe it when I see it, guys. And I'm not saying you're not good guys. I think you are good guys. But what good is it for you to be good guys and do nothing? That's my point. Talk, talk, talk. Scoop, Gary Gensler it's not just the Kraken thing, folks. Scoop, Gary Gensler is from Eleanor Terrett. He's embarking on a midnight massacre in an attempt to bring all of crypto under his control. In the coming weeks, the SEC, New York Department of Financial Services, OCC, will bring a myriad of enforcement actions against exchanges, banks, and entities that mint tokens in an attempt to label the majority of them securities. I'm told Gary Gensler's strategy is to bring as many enforcement actions as possible while the 118th Congress is still getting its bearings. No, while the 118th Congress is still talking and tweeting. And I said this, the second the SEC has almost all digital assets classified as securities, you'll see the most pro-crypto agency on the planet as it hands this new asset class off to Wall Street. And when I say Wall Street, BNY Mellon, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Fidelity Investments, CBOE, CME, and on and on and on. Now look at this. And so that's where I think this is going. Now, something I saw this Bill Morgan, he's an attorney, and I saw this tweet yesterday. SEC obtains a lot from a settlement with Ripple, even if the settlement allows for XRP not to be considered a security and sold by Ripple. A big fine. 2, an outcome that justifies the lawsuit. 3, no disclosure of Hinman emails. 4, no adverse decision on fair notice. 5, perhaps most importantly, no decision on the Blue Sky investment contract issue. As we saw this week, this argument has been for a second time by the defendants in the SEC versus Hawaii. Imagine if Ripple wins on this point. And I said, see, these kind of rumors of this kind of thing is what I think, because if you remember Charles Hoskinson, when he came out and said he was hearing rumors of a settlement, one time he said settlement, one time he said judgment. So I think the rumors were very loose rumors. But he said that if it was what he heard, that it would be devastating for crypto, almost as if he was angry about how it would be good for Ripple and bad for crypto. See, it never made any sense to me when he acted like he was so mad at the XRP community and he made a statement, I will not be on stage with anybody from Ripple or having to do with XRP. I thought that was kind of like overboard, you know. In other words, the Ripple people weren't saying anything to him. It was people on Twitter and XRP. And so for that reason, I thought it sounded weird, unless he had heard from his perspective. If you look, if this is what happens, from his perspective, he would see Ripple as a sellout, of selling out the industry to get for their own gain. And I could understand that from his perspective, how he might be angry in that. I wouldn't. Now, from my perspective and your perspective and freaking Ripple's perspective, a win's a win's a win, at least for XRP and for Ripple. But, you know, I want the whole industry to thrive too. But you have to understand, Ripple's not in a lawsuit representing the whole industry. They're representing Ripple, and they want a good outcome for XRP. So I don't know. Now, this was interesting yesterday. Eleanor Terrett, Mr. Wonderful, just busted the rumor that he was one of the people who helped secure Sam Bankman-Fried's bail. Charles Gasparino, who paid his bail? Kevin O'Leary, nobody knows, but I can assure you it wasn't me. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that Gary, don't be fooled by Gary. He's setting the table for his masters, and that's the fact.